What's up, people? This message is a PSA, right? It's something that I want to share with people because I feel it's very important. And when I say people, I'm talking about my line cooks, my chefs, dishwashers. I'm talking about anybody in the restaurant business, right? This is something that I did throughout my career up until I didn't need to do it anymore. And the jobs just came on their own, right? Based on referrals. So the way I would find a job, right, is this, and this is when I lived in New York. So this is something you can basically do in any country, any part of the world, right? You just need to find the resource to give you what I'm about to tell you. So the way I would find a restaurant job is I would buy this book called Time Out New York, right? Shout out to Time Out New York. I don't know if they still do it. I don't live in New York anymore, but this is what I did. And I'm talking 2002, 2003, 2004, right? Time Out New York was the name of the magazine / book. And what this book had was a list of every single restaurant in New York, every borough, and it listed the type of restaurant it was, how expensive the restaurant was, the kind of cuisine the restaurant had. And that was really cool for me because I could pick the neighborhood that I wanted to work in, and then I could pick the type of cuisine I wanted to do and the type of restaurant. And I would do this every time I needed a job. And what I would do is I would find the restaurant that I wanted to work in, and I would just send my resume. I didn't ask them if they were hiring. It didn't matter. I needed to find a job, and I was never without a job. That was the other thing. Like this, I'm telling you this because it always worked for me. Like, there wasn't one time that I tried it that it didn't work. So I would just send my resume in once I found the restaurant that I wanted to work in. And then I would call and say, hey, I sent in my resume. I wanted to know if you guys were looking for any line cooks, right? If you were looking for any chefs, depending on what stage of my career I was in. But that's what I would do. And it would be one of two answers. Yes, we are hiring. No, we're not at the moment, but we'll keep your resume and contact you if things change. So I say this to say there's no reason why you can't find the job that you want based on the resources that you have in front of you. Now we have ChatGPT. So if there is no timeout Russia, there's no timeout China, there's no timeout Beijing, or there's no timeout Puchi, no timeout Bangkok, whatever city you're in, then hit up ChatGPT or Google and say, what are the top 10 restaurants that serve Asian food in my neighborhood or whatever neighborhood you want to work in? There's always a way to find what you need, right? Once you have that information, then it's up to you to send in your resume, right? I don't know if a lot of companies use fax machines anymore because that's how I would send in my resume. You know, that's to tell you how old I am. I might not look it, but I am very old. So I say this to say, if there's no fax number and you can send your resume via fax, then you have two other options. One is to get an email for the restaurant and send in the email, or two, show up to the restaurant with your resume and drop it off for the chef. Make sure that the chef actually gets it. And don't show up during the middle of service, right? You're in the business. You know we're busy for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. So you have to show up in the off hours, right? You have to show up either first thing in the morning or between lunch and dinner, right? Or between breakfast and lunch. Anyway, this is how you can get a job today, right? End the story. Comment and let me know if there are other ways that you have found easy so more people can see it and then use that as well. But this is how I have gotten jobs in the past, and it's worked very well for me, and I'm sure it will do the same for you. All right? So good luck, and remember, you are only as good as your last plate.